In a remote corner of Africa, a small village lived in harmony with the rhythm of the seasons. Nestled amidst lush plains and bordered by majestic hills, the village comprised straw-roofed huts and dirt paths. Days passed slowly, marked by the songs of birds and the hard work of its inhabitants. But for Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim, this daily grind felt like an invisible prison. These three friends had been inseparable since childhood. Mamadou, tall and strong, was known for his insatiable appetite. Koffi, ever smiling, had a reputation as an incurable charmer, while Ibrahim, thoughtful and reserved, carried a deep love for his family. They spent their days working in the fields under the scorching sun and their evenings dreaming of brighter tomorrows. One night, as the moon shone high in the sky, the three friends gathered around a campfire. The crackling flames and dancing shadows on their faces gave their conversation an almost solemn tone. Life here is too harsh. Every day we work ourselves to the bone, and yet we never have enough, Mamadou said, his voice heavy with frustration. Exactly, Koffi chimed in. Meanwhile, in the city, they say people live in luxury. They claim the streets are paved with gold. What if we left? Ibrahim suggested, his gaze fixed on the flames. What if we left this village to seek our fortune elsewhere? We could return wealthy and make our families proud. Silence fell. The wind rustled gently through the trees, as if endorsing the idea. The three friends exchanged determined glances. The decision was made. They would leave the village. The next morning at dawn they packed their belongings, said their goodbyes. Mothers wept. Fathers urged them to return victorious. Promise me you'll stay safe, my son, Mamadou's mother pleaded, tears in her eyes. I'll come back with enough so you'll never want for anything, Mamadou replied with a confident smile. Don't worry, little sister. When I return, you'll have everything you desire, Koffi whispered as he kissed his younger sibling. Never forget where you come from, my son. No matter what you find out there, remain an honest man, Ibrahim's father advised, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. I won't forget, father, Ibrahim responded gravely. As the sun rose above the hills, Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim left their village. Their hearts raced with excitement and apprehension. Each step took them further from the life they knew and closer to the unknown. Ahead lay an uncertain path, but one filled with promise. The three friends arrived in the city, their eyes wide with wonder at the glow of the streetlights and the unceasing bustle of cars. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim walked along the paved streets, feeling the vibrations of the lively ground beneath their feet. Around every corner, a new spectacle awaited. Colorful stalls, towering buildings, and hurried faces rushing to their destinations. The men and women all seemed to have a purpose, a clear goal in mind. Mamadou raised his arms in awe of the activity surrounding him. Look at this. The streets are full of opportunities. Wealth is just waiting for us here, Mamadou exclaimed, his face lit up with a broad smile. Koffi, gazing at the fabric stalls and shop windows brimming with jewelry, added with a touch of pride in his voice. The city. This is where everything will change. I can already feel gold under my feet. Ibrahim, more reserved, glanced around cautiously. He wasn't as confident as his friends. Maybe. but we need to be careful. We don't really know where to start. It's not as simple as we think. The three friends parted ways to explore work opportunities. Mamadou, with his impressive physique, found a job as a porter in a warehouse. The work was exhausting, but the promise of a better life kept him moving. With every sack he lifted, he told himself that wealth would eventually reward his hard work. Yet, after a few hours, his arms trembled under the strain. "My hands are bleeding," Mamadou murmured, gasping for air but determined to continue. "But as long as I don't give up, I'll eventually reap the fruits of this labor." Koffi, on the other hand, swept the streets, the wind blowing against his face. The ground was filthy, and dust mingled with the smell of garbage. He swept one stretch of pavement after another, silently. Yet, in his heart, a growing frustration brewed. The city, so dazzling on the surface, seemed far less glorious when one was caught in its grind. "This isn't the life I dreamed of," Koffi thought as he watched elegantly dressed passers-by, who felt completely out of reach. "I feel invisible here. I thought money would come easily." Meanwhile, Ibrahim found himself behind a small stand selling cheap goods. He tried to attract busy passers-by, but the little he earned barely covered his basic needs. The customers seemed to ignore him, too absorbed in their own lives to stop for even a moment. "How did we end up like this?" he wondered as he stared at the few coins in his hand. "We thought this city would save us, but it crushes us at every turn." That evening, they reunited in a quiet corner of the city. Their faces were drawn with fatigue, and their spirits were heavy with doubt. Their dreams of wealth seemed as distant as ever. "So, what do we do now?" Koffi asked, breaking the silence. "I thought it would be easier. But it's like the city is rejecting us at every step." Mamadou, sweat still dripping from his brow, nodded silently. "I thought it would be simple. But every sack I carry, every step I take, reminds me that nothing is given here. We have to earn every penny." Ibrahim sighed, arms crossed over his chest. "Maybe we were right to leave the village. But here everything is different. I'm starting to wonder if wealth even exists." Koffi looked at his two friends, then sighed in turn. "We need to find another solution. The city doesn't give us gifts, but maybe somewhere, there's still a chance for us." The three friends looked at one another, disappointment in their eyes but also a faint spark of determination. They knew the path they had chosen would be fraught with challenges, but the idea of giving up was not in their nature. Together, they were willing to face anything to change their fate, even if it meant confronting harsher realities than those they had left behind in the village. Weeks passed, and the dreams of the three friends slowly withered under the weight of reality. Their daily work exhausted them, and the promise of a better life seemed to drift further away with each passing day. One evening, as they walked through the city, their spirits at an all-time low, they noticed a man in the distance. He walked with confidence, surrounded by an aura of respect. His luxurious clothing set him apart, and as he passed, people hurried to greet him with reverence. There was something about this man that seemed extraordinary. He was unlike anyone they had encountered before. "Look at that man," murmured Ibrahim, his voice filled with admiration. "He seems like someone powerful. How can anyone command such respect?" Mamadou, ever bold, didn't hesitate. He's probably someone who's succeeded. We should talk to him. Maybe he can help us. Koffi nodded, his eyes brimming with hope. Yes, let's talk to him. If he's been where we are now, he'll know how to guide us. The three friends approached the wealthy man, and after a moment of hesitation, Mamadou spoke. "Excuse us, sir," he began, respectful but direct. "We're new to the city, and we've heard about you. People say you started with nothing, just like us. We want to succeed too. Can you help us?" The man stopped and turned his gaze toward them. A faint smile crossed his lips, as if he saw a spark of potential in them. After a moment of silence, he replied in a calm but authoritative voice. "Wealth is no accident," he said gravely. "It is not found through luck alone. It demands sacrifices, hard choices, and above all, a heart willing to face challenges that few dare to confront." Koffi, curiosity gleaming in his eyes, stepped forward. "But how did you do it? What's the secret?" The man studied their faces intently, as though weighing every word he was about to say. "I'll tell you," he said. "If you're willing to sacrifice everything, I can show you the way. But there is no turning back. Once you choose this path, there's no room for regret." The three friends exchanged glances. The thought of giving up everything, of doing whatever it took to succeed, deeply tempted them, but an undercurrent of fear stirred within their minds. Still, each felt that this might be the opportunity they had been waiting for. "We're ready," Mamadou said firmly, though his hands trembled slightly. "We have nothing to lose." Koffi, more enthusiastic, quickly added, "I'll do whatever it takes. If it means changing our destiny, then so be it. Wealth is waiting for me." Ibrahim, slightly hesitant, bit his lip. I don't know. It's a big risk. But if you guide us, I'm willing to try." The man stared at them for a moment in silence before finally nodding. "Very well. Follow me. But remember this. The road to wealth is never easy. It is paved with hard choices and sacrifices. If you're willing to pay the price, I will guide you." They followed him through the bustling streets to the city's outskirts, where the buildings grew sparse and nature began to reclaim the land. After hours of walking, they reached the edge of a dense forest. The man stopped in front of an isolated cabin and turned to face them. "We've arrived," he said seriously. "Here begins your true test." Before they could react, an old sorcerer emerged from the cabin, clad in a robe woven with golden threads. His gaze pierced through the three friends as if he could see into the depths of their souls. "Welcome," the sorcerer said, his voice as deep as the echo of a distant drum. "You are ready to follow the path to wealth. But before you can proceed, you must accept certain rules. Rules that will bind you to your destiny." He handed each of them a strange stone, engraved with ancient inscriptions. "These stones carry prohibitions," the sorcerer explained, his gaze unwavering. "Each one will reveal a path you must follow. If you abide by these prohibitions, wealth will be yours. But if you falter, you will fail." He turned the first stone toward Mamadou. "You, Mamadou, must never eat food prepared by a woman." Then he turned the second stone toward Koffi. "You, Koffi, must never engage in intimacy with anyone." Finally he turned the third stone toward Ibrahim. And you, Ibrahim, must never share your wealth with your family." The three friends froze, their faces etched with shock. Mamadou looked up at the sorcerer. "This is difficult," he said hesitantly. "But if this is the price for wealth, I accept." Koffi, without hesitation, nodded. "I'll do what it takes." Ibrahim, his gaze lowered, almost whispered, "My family. But if this is the way, then I have no choice." "I accept too." The sorcerer slowly nodded. "Then you are ready. Remember, these prohibitions are your path to wealth. Respect them, and all you desire will be yours." A few weeks later, the lives of the three friends changed radically. Mamadou, Koffi, and Ibrahim became powerful and influential men, living in wealth and extravagance. Riches were at their fingertips, but at what cost? The answer would soon become clear. Here we have come to the end of the first part of this fascinating story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and share it. Don't miss the continuation of this story in the coming days by subscribing to the channel.